Australia to recognize Palestinian state, which other countries are backing statehood after nearly 2 years of conflict between Israel and Hamas, in which more than 60,000 people have been killed in Gaza. Several countries have recently announced plans to recognize a Palestinian state. On Monday, Australia became the latest to make the announcement, joining France, the United Kingdom and Canada in declaring their intention to extend formal recognition in the coming months. While more than 3/4 of United Nations member states already recognize Palestine, this is the first time some members of the Group of 7 G7 and other Western powers have signaled such a move. Others, including the United States, Israel, Japan, Germany, and Italy, remain opposed to recognition, maintaining that Palestinian statehood should be achieved only through direct negotiations. Here's a detailed look at Australia's decision. Other recent announcements, the countries that already recognize Palestine, and the history behind the recognition push. NAN Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said on Monday that Australia will recognize a state of Palestine in September at the United Nations General Assembly. The decision follows weeks of urging from within his cabinet and from many in Australia, amid growing criticism from officials in his government over the suffering and starvation in Gaza. The move comes as the Australian government has condemned plans announced in recent days by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for a sweeping new military offensive in Gaza. Albanese told reporters after a cabinet meeting that Australia's recognition would be predicated on commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority. These commitments include no role for Hamas in a Palestinian government, demilitarization of Gaza, and the holding of elections. A two-state solution is humanity's best hope to break the cycle of violence in the Middle East and to bring an end to the conflict, suffering, and starvation in Gaza, he said. This is an opportunity to deliver self-determination for the people of Palestine in a way that isolates Hamas, disarms it and drives it out of the region once and for all. Foreign Minister Penny Wong said there was much more work to do in building a Palestinian state and that the practical implementation of our recognition will be tied to progress on these commitments. NAN and Australia's announcement follows similar moves by other major powers. France was the first G7 country to declare it would recognize Palestine at the UN General Assembly in September. President Emmanuel Macron had signaled as early as June that recognition could come within months, adding that some Middle Eastern countries could, in turn, formally recognize Israel. The Palestinian Authority described the move as a step in the right direction. The United Kingdom has said it will proceed with recognition unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza with Hamas and takes further steps to allow more humanitarian aid into the enclave. Canada's position mirrors Australia's, making its recognition conditional on Palestinian Authority reforms, including democratic elections in 2026 that exclude Hamas. These announcements mark the first time members of the G7, which also includes Germany, Italy, Japan, and the US, have taken concrete steps towards recognizing Palestinian statehood. Germany, Italy, and Japan remain holdouts, though Germany recently said it would suspend arms exports to Israel over its plans to expand fighting in Gaza. NAN and several other nations have confirmed they will recognize or support recognition of Palestine at the UN General Assembly next month. Malta has said it will vote in favor, while Portugal and Luxembourg have issued a joint statement calling for the revival of a two-state solution. In July, a high-level UN conference co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia saw at least 125 countries endorse the New York Declaration, which urged Israel to commit to establishing a Palestinian state. The plan called for Hamas to end its rule in Gaza and hand over weapons to the Palestinian Authority once a ceasefire is reached. NAN and while the latest announcements have drawn headlines, the majority of the world already recognizes Palestine. A total of 147 out of the 193 UN member states, more than three-quarters, have formally extended recognition, along with the Holy See, the governing body of the Catholic Church and sovereign entity of Vatican City, which holds UN observer status. This includes major countries such as India, China, Spain, Ireland, and Norway, as well as most nations in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Arab world. By 2011, all African countries except Eritrea and Cameroon had recognized Palestine. In 2024, 10 countries formally joined the list, including Mexico, Armenia, Slovenia, and the three European nations Ireland, Norway, and Spain that recognized Palestine according to the pre-1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital, prompting Israel to recall ambassadors from the three countries. Slovenia followed suit in June 2024. And these countries have announced plans to formally recognize Palestine at the UNGA in September 2025. Australia, conditional on Palestinian Authority commitments, including no Hamas role, demilitarization, and elections. Of France, recognition announced by President Emmanuel Macron. United Kingdom, recognition unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire and increases humanitarian aid to Gaza. Canada, conditional on Palestinian Authority reforms in 2026 elections. Without Hamas. And once these are formalized, the total number of recognizers would rise to 151. And under the 1933 Montevideo Convention, a sovereign state is defined as having a permanent population, a defined territory, an effective government, and the capacity to enter into international relations. While recognition by other states is not a formal legal requirement for statehood, it is often necessary for engaging fully in international diplomacy and treaties. In the case of Palestine, recognition by other countries acknowledges its claim to sovereignty and allows for the establishment of formal diplomatic relations. According to the Australian Palestine Advocacy Network, recognition would involve establishing a formal diplomatic relationship with Palestine. However, recognition does not in itself grant full control over territory or end ongoing conflicts, as practical sovereignty depends on political and security conditions on the ground. And the State of Palestine was proclaimed on November 15, 1988, during the First Intifada by Palestine Liberation Organization chairman Yasser Arafat, with Jerusalem as its capital. More than 80 countries recognized it soon after, with strong support from the Global South. Swipe left for next video. In 2012, the UN General Assembly voted 1389 to upgrade Palestine's status to non-member observer state. 2 years later, Sweden became the first Western European nation to recognize it. In May 2024, Norway, Ireland and Spain announced recognition, followed by Slovenia in June. These moves, combined with the recent announcements by Australia, France, the UK and Canada, mark the biggest shift among Western powers in decades. Latest blogs.